AI is absolutely exploding, right? And for small and mid-sized companies, it can feel like a total gold rush. There's this incredible excitement about what it can do for efficiency and innovation. But let's be real, there's also a ton of uncertainty. How do you actually harness all that power without getting burned? Well, that's exactly what this is all about, giving you a clear, actionable playbook to get you from chaos to control. So let me ask you this straight up. Are your teams already using AI tools? Kind of, without a central strategy. If you're not in your head, look, you are not alone. But you're also taking on a pretty significant risk. Operating without a real governance plan is like navigating a minefield blindfolded. It just opens you up to all sorts of legal, ethical, and operational headaches that can seriously derail your business. Before we go any further, let's make sure we're all on the same page. When we say AI governance, this is what we're talking about. It is not just some policy document that you write and then it collects dust on a shelf. No, it's a living, breathing system. It brings together your policies, your processes, and most importantly, your people to steer all your AI efforts safely and, get the most value out of them. Okay, so here's our game plan. We'll start by talking about this governance gap that a lot of companies fall into. Then we're going to walk through a really clear 3-step journey to build out your own framework. And finally, we'll see how all this work actually turns into a major strategic advantage for you. All right, let's get into it. The potential of AI is just massive. We're talking about completely optimizing supply chains, seriously enhancing quality control, creating smarter products. The list goes on. But here's the thing. For every single one of those opportunities, there's a risk on the other side. Things like data privacy breaches, algorithmic bias, IP disputes, and that's just for starters. Closing this gap with smart governance is absolutely critical. And this right here, this is the trap so many companies fall into. One department makes a rule for their new chatbot, another has a totally separate guideline for data analysis, and nothing is connected. This kind of fragmented approach is, well, it's a recipe for disaster. It creates confusion for your employees and leaves these huge, gaping holes in your risk oversight. You just can't manage AI effectively that way. But the good news is you can get there. Building functional governance doesn't have to be a chaotic sprint. It's a structured journey. We've broken it down into 3 pretty manageable phases that you can roll out over time. This way, you can build a really robust system without totally overwhelming your team and your resources. Okay, let's dive into this first crucial phase. For about the first 6 months, your entire focus should be on laying a super solid groundwork. Think about it. You can't build a strong house on a shaky foundation. And the exact same thing is true for AI governance. So, you've got 4 key actions in this phase. First up, you're going to assemble a cross-functional governance team. Second, you'll do a deep dive with a readiness assessment to figure out exactly where you stand today. Third, you'll map out every single AI system you're using or even just thinking about using. And finally, you'll get the ball rolling on training to raise AI literacy across the entire company. And listen, this is so important. Your governance team can't just be the IT department. AI touches literally every part of the business, so you need people from all over. You need folks from operations who know the real-world impact, legal and compliance to navigate all the regulations, data science to get the tech. This diversity is your single greatest strength. So what does this council actually do? Well, you can think of them as your central command for AI. They're the ones who will give the green light to higher risk projects. They'll define what risky even means for your company. They make sure all the different departments are actually talking to each other. And ultimately, they're the backstop for any ethical red flags that pop up. All right, so you've built your foundation. Now let's see how that moves us into phase 2. With all that groundwork in place, it is time to turn your plans into practice. This is really where you start building the engine of your governance framework and, take it for a little test drive. Okay, in this phase, you formally adopt your company-wide AI policy and you make sure everybody sees it. But, and this is key, you don't go all in at once. You start small. You run controlled pilot projects to test the waters. At the same time, you'll set up your first monitoring tools and you'll start having those really critical conversations with your insurers about AI-specific risks. Now, this slide gets at a huge question for any mid-sized company. Should we build this stuff ourselves or should we buy it? Well, for something as critical as your AI policy, the answer is pretty clear. Buy the expertise. Get legal counsel. The liability risks are just too high to mess around with. But for a specific tool, like, say, predictive maintenance, buying a ready-made solution is way faster and more cost-effective. And you don't need to reinvent the wheel here. There is a fantastic, adaptable playbook that already exists. The NIST AI risk management framework. It's built around 4 really common sense functions. First, you govern by setting the rules. Then you map your landscape to understand the context. You measure performance with clear metrics. And finally, you manage any risks you find. It's a lean but really powerful tool. Okay, this is a really crucial piece of insight for any leader out there. When you first roll out new AI tools, do not be surprised if productivity actually dips for a little bit. People need time to learn and adopt. This is called the J-curve. The key is to manage expectations, tell your stakeholders this is coming, and just keep the momentum going because you have to trust that the long-term gains will far outweigh this initial dip. And that brings us to our final phase, which really is more of an ongoing state of being. This is all about smart growth and continuous improvement. Your governance framework isn't some static document. It has to be a dynamic system that evolves right alongside the technology. So in this phase, you start to scale up those pilot projects that really worked out. But scaling comes with responsibility. This means you're constantly monitoring performance, you're implementing tools to check for bias and security risks, and you're regularly reviewing your vendor contracts to make sure they're keeping up with your standards. And this just illustrates the difference perfectly. Without continuous monitoring, your AI models can fail silently, biases can creep in totally unnoticed, your policies become useless. But with it, you get real-time alerts. You catch and fix bias through regular audits. Your whole governance becomes this living framework that actually adapts to new challenges as they come up. So, here's the crucial point. Everything we've been talking about, it isn't just a defensive move to avoid risk. When you do this right, AI governance becomes a powerful offensive strategy. It's not just a safety net, it's a launchpad for growth and innovation. I mean, think about it. When you can actually demonstrate that you have robust, responsible AI governance, you build this deep, profound trust with everyone who matters. Your customers trust you with their data. Your investors see you as a much safer, smarter bet. And your insurers, they see you as a well-managed risk. That trust is a massive competitive advantage. This quote really just says it all, doesn't it? Shifting your mindset from seeing governance as just some box-ticking compliance exercise to understanding it as a core part of your business strategy, that is the key. That's what separates the companies that will thrive in this new era from those that are going to struggle. So I'll just leave you with this one question to think about. As you build out your approach to AI, are you just building a safety net to catch you when you fall? Or are you building a launchpad? One that's going to propel your organization to new heights, confidently and responsibly. The choice, really, is yours.